Welcome back to La La Land on CRN Digital Talk. That's Nettie Liddell. I am Brett Chapin. We're talking with theater publicist Ken Werther. If you have any questions for Ken, go ahead and give us a call at 1-800-336-2225. And to find information on Ken, go to kenwerther.com. And Ken, so I don't know, I think I explained a little bit this to you in the pre-interview, but when we started the show, we sent a letter to about 10 different very influential people in LA theater, asking them to come on the show, have a little panel discussion with us, similar to what the LA Times did about the state of LA theater.
Did you go to that? Were you at the LA Times thing?
I did, but I got there late, and it was already over.
The one at Zipper Hall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was over in like 45 minutes.
I'll let you finish before I interrupt again rudely, but I'll tell you something interesting, really interesting about that particular event.
Okay. We've had, we sent a letter to about 10 people, and most of them were very great about getting back to us, and we had a chance to talk to some of them. Stephen Lee Morris, Stephen Stanley, Colin Mitchell, Deborah Puett, Michael Seal, Gadali Gubret, Kat Primo, Jason Lowe. Terrence McFarlane was great about getting back in touch with us.
Terrence is great.
Yeah. So, and so I wanted to kind of ask you similar questions about the state of LA theater. Right now, there seems to be a little bit of a thought that maybe the 99-seat theaters aren't quite getting the exposure that the larger theaters are getting.
Right.
What are your thoughts about all that?
Well, the thing that I wanted to say just up top about that event that the LA Times had, which was during the TCG conference, which happened at TCG Theater Communications Group, which is a national organization that a lot of the regional theaters like the Mark Taper Forum and others belong to. And they, for the very first time, had their annual conference here in Los Angeles. And so the LA Times decided that everybody was getting in on the act, so to speak. So the LA Times held this sort of roundtable, so to speak. And the title, the subject of the thing was, "Is LA a theater town?" Now, I've been doing, as I say, I started in television, but most of my 30 years in Los Angeles, I've been lucky enough to be doing what I wanted, which was working in the theater. Wow. So I've listened to this argument and this discussion and have been asked this question about, is LA a theater town, many, 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 many times. That day, when Charles McNulty, the LA Times lead theater critic, led the conversation. And the first question he asked was, so, do we think that LA, I'd like to hear, it was Michael Ritchie, the artistic director of CTG, Sheldon Epps, Pasadena Playhouse, Gil Cates, may he now rest in peace, unfortunately, he was the artistic director at the Geffen Playhouse. And they had Tim Robbins there because he's the artistic director of the Actors Gang, which is a 99-seat deal. And they had the playwright Beth Henley, who wrote Crimes of the Heart many years ago, there, which no disrespect to Beth, I totally didn't understand what a playwright was doing there. But nonetheless, she didn't say very much either. But the point, in my long-winded way of getting to this point, which is, when Charles McNulty asked, is LA a theater town, the first person to speak up was Sheldon Epps. And the first thing he said was, well, I think the first thing we need to do in service of answering that question is to stop asking it. And the entire crowd burst into applause. Because we all know, we being the people who work in the theater in this town, love the theater, I know you guys have other careers as performers and as such. You know that there's theater in this town.
Sure.
We all know that there's theater in this town. We know there's an audience that comes to the theater in this town. So I'm not sure that we need to label LA a theater town. Quite honestly, I don't think it's ever going to happen because, and this is another thing I always run around espousing, we are trying to make theater in an industry town where theater is not the industry. This is where they make movies and television, and it's never going to be different.
So what can LA do then to improve its reputation, do you think?
Well,
with theater,
I think basically is to just keep doing the good work.
Right.
I mean, I mean, what else could? Okay, here's a quick silly story. I once worked for a woman, a producer, who we were working on a show. Actually, it was Forever Plaid, so it was in a larger theater. And we were having a marketing meeting in the middle of the run, and business had fallen off a little bit. So we were discussing what to do, and she got very frustrated in the middle of the meeting. And there were like 7 or 8 people in the room. It was like a whole marketing team. And this woman turned and she looked at me and she said, "It is your responsibility to change the perception that LA is not a theater town." And I said, everyone stopped breathing, because everybody knew what I was feeling, which is, it's my responsibility to change the perception. It really can't be done that way. I think it's just about doing the good work and reaching out to the public to get them to come, which is a whole other issue that we can talk about in the next segment
when we come back.
That is brilliant. Stop asking the question.
Isn't that great?
Stop
I think
asking
it's been
the
pretty
question.
well established that LA can
And look,
be
just do it. Just look into it.
yeah.
I mean,
Theater in LA can be very valuable,
totally.
and is very valuable.
Absolutely.
So we'll be back. If you have any questions for Ken, give us a call, 1-800-336-2225. We'll be back on La La Land with Brett and Nett on CRN Digital Talk.
Who's watching your home when you're not there?